And the
credit card input.
Monday.
That wouldn't be any online payments or anything.
If the windows come out all right, they're easy to go back in.
Thank you.
Static lights. I see. I like to turn this light on or that light on. I had to find out to get through the mail. That's frustrating.
This time I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, October 15th, 2024 meeting of the Danville City Council. Roll call to establish the quorum, please.
Mayor Ricky Williams Jr.,
Present.
Alderman Ed Butler,
Present.
Heidi Wilson, Carolyn Wands,
Present.
James Bouchard,
Present.
Mike O'Kane,
Here.
Bob Iverson,
Here.
Mike Poore,
Present.
Rick Streebing,
Here.
Sherry Pickering, Eve Ludwig,
Present.
Tricia Teague, present, Robert Williams,
Present.
Darren York,
Here.
John Cooper,
Here.
13 present.
13 present. We do have a quorum. At this time, we will have the invocation led by the Reverend Doug Knapp, the executive pastor of Hope Unlimited Church, followed by the pledge led by Alderman O'Kane. Please rise.
Good evening, Mayor and Alderman. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. I've been here a number of times. It's not my first time praying with you. But tonight my prayer may be sounding a little different. Just as you have declarations and proclamations tonight, I feel very strongly to do that in my prayer. So let's pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, I thank you for my city and that we are blessed with the privilege of living here. I thank you by placing me and those who are here tonight. You have assigned us to both physically and spiritually steward the place where we live. So today I rise up, I take my place as one of many spiritual leaders in our community and declare this. Lord, according to Zechariah 10:1, I pray that you would send forth blessing and provision to our city. We ask, Father, that you let an outpouring of your Spirit fall on this place and overcome any evil operating against it. I curse every spirit operating against this city right now and command every demon to leave this place in Jesus' name. I declare no weapon formed against this city will prosper. That every tongue that rises up against this city will be shown to be in the wrong. I declare that this is a godly city and righteousness prevails. I command the spirits of poverty and violence and anger and hate, witchcraft, lying, immorality, and all other wrong spirits to leave in the name of Jesus. I bind every spirit that is negatively affecting this city. Command them to stop in their maneuvers and cease and desist in their actions even now. Plead the blood of Jesus around this city and ask for angels to be encamped around about us here. I pray Psalm 91 over Danville, Illinois. I pray for every leader in this city. According to 1 Timothy 2:1 and 2, the mayor, the city council, all others in authority. I pray that they would rule justly and with godly wisdom. I pray for strength and blessing for them. And as we pray, we know that we, in the name of Jesus, can enjoy the peaceful and quiet lives and live with dignity in our city. So I bind every effort operating in this city that the enemy would have over our political scene of our city. I pray now and command him to take his hands off of our government, our economy, even the social scene right now in Jesus' name. And ask you, Lord, to send forth laborers to every neighborhood. Let your light shine throughout every neighborhood, school, and storefront and church. Let the gospel permeate every part of this city and break through every area of darkness. Thank you, Lord, for the revival of our land. And I ask all these things in faith believing and in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Doug, for that
Yes.
prayer. That was beautiful. We appreciate it and powerful. And we'd love to hear any updates that you have for us. And forgive me if I call you Assemblies yet, because you know I have a lineage there. So
We're still formally that, but we changed the name to be relevant to who we want to be and what we want to give. So one of the things that we are working on, have been probably for the last year and a half or so, is working with our foster parents and foster children and the programs surrounding that. We feel a very strong leading to begin to move in this area to help not only the parents, but also to help make it known how important and how much we need more foster parents in our city, and also to come alongside and give them support. So we have a number of our initiatives that we're starting this year and working directly. We've had several meetings with several of the different branches of the foster program, and we've already got some plans for this year and the following year. We're working very hard and hopefully spread this out to other churches so they can come alongside, because there are a lot of opportunity to come along and support the families and the children that are in this system, as well as the parents that aren't able to be there for their kids right now. So we feel very strongly about this and looking forward for that to be a real blessing to the community. So thank you for that opportunity.
thank you, Pastor
Thank
Doug.
you.
We appreciate
Bless you.
everything y'all are doing for our people.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I would like to say to Reverend Doug Knapp, I mean, that has been the most inspiring, invigorating prayer that I've heard since I've been here. And I really appreciate that, not only the prayers need to be in our whole entire nation, but Danville as well. The devil, he's trying to seek to whom he may devour. And it behooves each and every one of us that we, as time is near, we need to continue to love and embrace each other, because we never know the day or the time of the hour that he's going to come. I really appreciate that. It was very inspiring.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. You have before you the minutes of the October 1st, 2024 meeting. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or debate? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. We have approved the minutes. You also have before you an agenda this evening. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate?
Excuse me.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. We will move on to my report. I would ask for a concurrence with making Arbor Day October 19th, 2024, this Saturday in honor of Arbor Day. We are, as many of you all know, we're working to become a Tree City USA as part of our Arbor grant that we received, and this is one of the requirements. Also, it's something that I think is important for our community, that we plant more trees, especially after as many as we've lost in the storms in recent years. So is there a motion to concur with the
So moved.
yes.
Mayor, can you explain what Arbor Day is about?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Williams, I will. I need a second, and then,
Okay.
yes,
Excuse
sir,
me.
I sure will.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Arbor Day is a celebration of planting trees and helping all that they bring. They help cleanse the earth in a lot of ways. For example, you look at the old Heatcraft site out on Voorhees, and that was site that was contaminated in the ground, and we literally planted trees, and those trees absorbed all of the poison out of that, and not only did it clean them up, but then God made it so that they could even be used for firewood if they needed to be, because the contaminants are gone. So it's just a day of celebrating planting trees and taking care of the earth.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And Alderman, we have a committee, Trees for Danville. So this is part of our requirement to become a Tree City USA, and to get that status is by celebrating Arbor Day. We will be giving away free 50 red oaks to the first 50 people that are there, that you can plant on your own. But that's just something we've been doing. Last Saturday, there were over 100 trees planted at Fair Oaks in the green space. And that's continuing on with Doc Howard doing a lot of the work, Doc and Patrick. But we meet once a month, and this is something started, Steve Lane tried to get this going years ago, and we're finally doing it, have a grant and everything else. So they've also found that trees improve the health and well-being of a lot of our more underprivileged areas. So we're concentrating in certain areas to help. They've proven that trees help with education, with work ethic, everything else. So we're just doing that all around the city as much as we can.
Thank you.
What brand of trees are they talking about again, Mike?
The red oaks. Red oaks, we have 50 saplings we'll be giving away.
Okay.
But it's 130 to 230 at
At
the
least
library.
will withstand the storm a lot better than
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
what is it, the beech nut or the,
Yes.
something they
The
just,
elms were terrible.
they're beautiful, but they just don't
And redbuds don't do
sustain very well. Yeah, okay.
Right, Dave? But actually, there's an inventory of specific trees for this area, for this hardiness and things that the committee's looking at, and that's what's being planted.
Where's the meeting again, Mike?
Excuse me?
Where's the meeting?
It'll be at the Danville Public Library, 1:30 to 2:30. It's just a celebration, coloring, things like that.
Okay.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. I do not have any board, committee, or personnel appointments for you this evening. Are there any reports of boards, agencies, or commissions? Seeing none, at this time, I would like to welcome Logan Cronk, our Community Development Administrator, who will be introducing our guests.
All right. This presentation that will be before you this evening is for item, I believe it's 11H. It's to provide information in regards to the proposal provided by the presenter tonight, Place Foundry. It's going to describe the timeline and give a high-level review of what a comprehensive plan really is and why we need his team and their assistance to create one. Essentially, this is a 20-year blueprint for how the city of Danville is going to move forward, our roadmap. So it's a very important document. We've vetted several consultants over the last couple of years, have done several projects with David, have been very pleased with his product. So the proposal tonight, that's what this presentation is for. And without further ado, I'll give you David Sidney.
Thank you, Logan. Thank you, City Council, Mayor, for the opportunity to present to you tonight. My name is David Sidney, founder and CEO of Place Foundry. We're based in Rockford, Illinois. We've been working with your staff on a couple of projects and looking forward to talking tonight about a comprehensive plan and a comprehensive plan update, give you a little bit of, from our own personal experience with our company, my experience being a city planner about 10 years ago and leading the city of Rockford through its comprehensive plan update, and then what the timeline would look like in next steps. But I'm excited to be with you tonight. So before I jump into the scope of work, just a little bit about our story and our team. As I said, I'm the founder and CEO of the company, and I'm a practicing urban planner at the core, and really specialize in design, public policy, and real estate development. So our firm, as you'll see on the slide, what drives us at the core is we just believe that figuring out how to execute your vision to transform it, whether that's a space, a business, or a community, into higher and better uses should not be a mystery or frustrating. And that's why we work with you, because we feel that any place, any community, that's possible to see transformation. And so our firm we're a mix of advisory, consulting, and design. So planners, strategists, graphic designers, architects, and we get really excited moving you from vision to groundbreaking and ribbon cutting ceremony. So what drives our team all day long, especially in our plans, our plans do not sit on the shelf. We really want to move you towards groundbreaking and ribbon cutting ceremonies. And so the ways in which we do that through planning and design, everything from vision, identifying the character of a place, and figuring out how to transform it from underperforming to a magnetic destination. we are real big on stakeholder engagement. And this stakeholders we define as pretty much everyone in the community. So property owners, residents, business owners, community members that may not live within the community but are heavily vested, you as elected officials. So we build stakeholder engagement in our process from the beginning. It's not an afterthought. It's not a public hearing. It's really for community-wide buy-in. Funding and implementation strategies, and this is at the heart of our strategy because ultimately we want to position you for moving towards groundbreaking, and a big piece of that, of course, is the funding and the implementation timeline. So with our team of experts in the real estate side of the company, we're thinking about that. We're thinking about how, from a development perspective, how is this plan going to move from being on the paper to groundbreaking? And then the storytelling and branding components. So we can have great projects and great plans, but ultimately if we can't tell that story really well and we can't really market it to be an investor or a resident, it's a much more challenging to move it towards that groundbreaking and ribbon cutting. So these are some of our team members that you'll see throughout the process. Mix of architects, planners, strategists, graphic designers, and of course myself on the advisory consulting side. And that specifically shows up in multiple ways. So in the comprehensive plan, what we bring to the table is not only land use planning, but we're really looking at market and economic analysis. So a couple of projects that we've already worked on with you, we can tell you exactly what's going on in the marketplace, who's visiting specific sites, specific commercial developments, who's visiting and touring the community, and giving you that kind of data points, because ultimately that feeds into the strategy. But financial feasibility, spatial analysis, anchor development strategy, and again, participatory planning, stakeholder engagement is a real big component to what we do. And then on this project will not involve this, but just architecture and design. Why we have some of our architects on our team is because, again, we're thinking about the end in mind for whether it's neighborhood development, commercial corridor planning. We're always thinking about that end state of things getting built. Our process goes from vision to reality, and so we have 4 different phases of our work. And so clients that we work with, municipalities, economic development organization, property owners, can find themselves jumping in at any one of these phases. What we will do for the comprehensive plan is be all the way on the left side, where we will start with coaching and analysis. We're going to spend time together really getting after what is the preferred future for Danville. How do we shape this together? What is your perspective as elected officials? What is the perspective of residents, staff, everyone? And then what is the data telling us too? I always say that don't let data tell your story. You can use data to manipulate. You can use data to tell all kinds of stories. What is the reality of who you are and who are you becoming? I'm from Rockford, Illinois, where many people thought we could not turn around, and we are actually growing again. So we actually just received 1,500 new residents in the last 12 months. We are a growing community again, and so it is possible to get on the growth track. And then we'll move into mapping, where that's where we start to get into beyond the data, into the land use planning, into stakeholder engagement. Ultimately, as Logan said, moving to that blueprint. That blueprint is going to tell you your preferred future and the strategies to get there, guiding you, especially as elected officials, in terms of policies, the decisions that you're making when projects come your way. How do you know, is this the right course of action for any particular area of your community? And the last part is place development, which is really, that's after the planning, that's implementation, that's working with partners in the community. So our approach in more detail continued on, and I'm going to just go through these slides pretty quickly here. But to start off, a comprehensive plan is more than just a document, and it has to be more than a document. It has to be more than a document that sits on a shelf or you kind of refer to it every so often. It really is your blueprint for the community's future, and it's your decision-making tool. It will guide you. It's something that you can constantly lean into to guide your decision-making process, and it ought to reflect the values and aspirations of the community. That's what makes it exciting. Comp plans can be very exciting. There's been a huge evolution in how we do comprehensive planning throughout the United States, but really it needs to be that document that anyone can understand. Not just policymakers, not just business owners, not just residents, but everybody can really, truly understand. So as I already talked about, our approach for the comprehensive plan, we will really dive into these three areas in terms of analysis, mapping, and blueprint. And the way you can remember this is these phases. We're saying, where are we now? Where do we want to go? And then how do we get there? Those are the three phases in which we will move through this process. And as I said, you'll see community engagement is up front because that's so critical. Where are we now? Where are we now through the lens of you as elected officials and your stakeholders, constituents? Where are we now in terms of the business climate? All those questions, we have to get that out now to then start to figure out our vision, the outcomes that we want to achieve, and then ultimately the how do we get there. So this is just a visual of when we talk about analysis, it's everything, right? So it's looking at your demographic data, health, education, emergency services, your natural land, farmland, cultural, historic resources. I won't go through every one, right? This is a representation. We're looking at a lot of different information. Some of it is data points. Some of it is going to be through community workshops as people speak into it. Some of it's going to be your staff. They know a lot in these different areas. And so how do we bring that all together into this process? And then the mapping piece is where we really get it gets exciting in terms of how do you move through visioning, guiding principles, ultimately those goals and objectives, and then the strategy, that blueprint. And the blueprint will have different components to it. We talk about it as a team in terms of an ecosystem. Decisions over here, actions over here, they all affect each other. What goes on through public investment, infrastructure planning, all affects parks. Parks affects neighborhoods. Neighborhoods affect commercial corridors, environmental remediation and opportunities. It all plays together, and so ultimately we want to capture that not only in just having a future land use map that's core to the document, but it's everything in terms of your housing policies and your economic development framework, which you'll probably hear me spend a lot of time there because that's really an area where we a little different in terms of how we approach comprehensive planning is what is your economy going today, but what can it become? And how do you continue to diversify so you have a strong economy going forward? So community engagement, just a couple of things to highlight. We believe community engagement needs to be strategic and it has to be credible. It cannot be an exercise in which we say community engagement, but we really will develop with staff, with you, a community engagement plan that we feel like will work. We will have ambassadors as a part of the process too, because I do not live here, right? But for people who live here, who work here, all of you, making sure that you are a part of the execution of this. And so different ways in which we will do that, we will spend some time developing that plan, so we will not just bring a plan. We're going to look at through these different lenses, these anchor stakeholders, students, families, small business owners, visitors, tourists, seniors, as examples. Interactive engagement, everything from project website to doing some workshops, social media, and then traditional engagement, steering committee, which will be key to all of this, from the planning commission to staff to you all as elected officials, and then making sure we have good focus group conversations. And then, of course, not everyone can show up to everything in person, and so making sure we have other ways for getting their information, and online surveys still work. So we will use that as a part of our process. Just some case studies just to show you visually what it'll look like. And so in terms of master planning, here is an example for Village of Roscoe, Illinois, in terms of that. When I talked about preferred future, what is Danville's preferred future? You don't have to read all the words. This is really just to show you how communities walk through our process to get at a preferred future for their community, and it's the voice of the community as well. And so we ask questions that we'll ask you during that coaching. What would it look like if So take out Roscoe and put in Danville, had the most appealing, take out downtown, most appealing neighborhoods, most appealing commercial corridors, right? So that way we can start to define what that future looks like. And then how we capture that information so everyone sees, because again, we will refer back to this for future guiding policies and implementation. This is just an example of market analysis, right? So understanding consumer demand, what's driving, where is their total demand, total supply, unmet demand. So within a 7 minute, 10-minute, 15-minute drive, all the different layers in which we can look at visitation. We can show you who's coming into your market and spending and where are they going. So this is a map more for positioned around the Rockford region. We've been working with City of Loves Park. They asked us the question. We have a major recreation sports facility, tourism happening at this interchange. How many people are coming here and how could that leverage development? Once they discovered that they had 2.5 million visitors to the sports core facilities and 2.5 million visits to the Costco, that started to change the way that the city saw that area of their community and started to drive the land use planning. And then again, trade area map really just shows you this is all the people in this community, where they're living and where they're spending and how they're spending. Again, that's all a part of the transformation of an economy, especially an economy that might only be stagnant or just only seeing 1 or 2% growth. How do you start to really see percentage increases throughout? And then, of course, getting into demographic insight, land use and zoning, right? That's going to be foundational, right? At the end of the day, your comprehensive plan for your community and how you execute that and linking it to your zoning policy, that's the core, right? That's going to really help you, especially as projects come your way in your decision-making process, both within your municipal boundary and also within the 1.5 mile boundary area. Keep going. So. And this is just an example, again, of how it could look, right, to really start to help you understand the strategies and how everything is linked in the plan. Again, land use mapping, so really getting into the details. Again, how do we start to look at different areas of Danville and say not only what are your priorities, but then how does that making sure that shows up in your land use vision, and do we need to do any amending to zoning policies and right to make sure it's all linked and reflected. Keep going. Again, I'm just showing you some visualizations, what you can expect in this process. Some areas, we won't do this for the entire community, but for some areas, right, what is this going to look like? How does this really feel when we talk about this zoning policy combined with this land use strategy and this marketplace information? How does this all show up? So again, this is an area. This is actually a mall that is underperforming. It still has a good amount of visits, 5 million visits annually, but in its heyday, it has significant, about 3 times as many visits annually. And so again, as you start to look at your, land use policies and your economic development strategies, right? In this case, the community is saying, now how do we take an area and really transform this into a new asset, a different type of asset that's higher and performing. And this community doesn't leverage a property tax, so they're heavily dependent on retail sales tax. And so this strategy is an example. It really reflects that. Again, working with the property owners, working with the mall owners, and working with everyone around in the process. So the vision that you see on the screen is a vision of the property owners and the elected officials in that community. And again, we'll get into looking at the transition between developed areas and undeveloped areas. In some situations, you don't have to develop all your land. What does it look like to have a mix of farming and residential components together? And in this case, the community was looking at that to say, how do we, there's a demand for farmettes, and so where in our area can we put that in the community? And again, just some more visualizations for how we will execute the plan. We will also look at, in terms of stormwater, at high level, we won't get into detail like this, but we'll look high level in terms of watersheds, stormwater management, right? Again, that affects what's developable, what's not developable. And in this case, as an example, as a part of the development, the community said, we want more bike trails. We want pedestrian connection. We actually want a bridge over the interstate so we can connect our hotels to what's happening on the other side. And so a big part of that was watershed restoration as a driver, and the financial funding will help support that through the federal, state, and local tax dollars. We'll get into design guidelines, again, high level, right? And saying, well, what is the look and feel? Obviously, design guidelines are not as cannot meet the same legal test as your zoning, but they can be guides. It can really inform the development community, the standards that you want to see for your community, ultimately what the community is saying you want to have in place. And then, as I said, economic development strategy, these are real important components in terms of diversifying your economy. There's opportunities for communities of all sizes in terms of everything from entrepreneurial support to tourism development. There's just lots of opportunities out there that I believe that we can discover in this process. And then again, we're paying attention to how these plans ultimately, comprehensive plan is not going to lead immediately to development, right? There's a lot of stages that get there, but ultimately having that in mind in terms of if we're making these kinds of decisions today, over the next 5, 10, 20 years, what it could look like in terms of job creation, what could it look like in terms of the amount of investment that is happening in the community. And the last part in terms of storytelling engagement, putting it all together, again, helping everyone see. And so depending on the plan in the community, we will package it all together visually, graphically, so it's an easily understood plan. So these are just way different examples of that. So scope of work. Here's our task ahead. As I said, we've, with our local, already working on 2 projects, Fairchild-Vermillion feasibility study and Lynch Road corridor feasibility study. We've already here and already have some, good knowledge of the community, but there's a lot that we don't know, right? And the comprehensive plan is going to help bring that forward. But just want you to know that we are here working. It's been great working with your staff. But, we've been talking through with those 2 projects, right? Changing demographics, the economic landscape, housing challenges, neighborhoods here, supply and demand misalignment, right? Affordability concerns. How do we invest throughout the entire community? What's the right strategy? Demolition, new construction, right? Downtown, you've made an investment with your downtown plan. How do you make that continue to go forward and ultimately connect to the other parts of the community? So we're just gonna do a lot more deeper dive in that. We'll take it through 9 tasks. We call them tasks. They're just groups. They won't run this smoothly. But in essence, you kind of see from project initiation and management ultimately to the implementation piece in December of next year. That's our target, is at the end of next year, you will have a updated comprehensive plan. So this just shows you how we will go through that process. And again, you'll see community engagement is throughout. The first few months are really just data, understanding, asking a lot of questions, mapping, more working with you and your staff team, and then we will go out to the broader community to engage in the process. So these will be the team elements that we're proposing right now. So elected officials, planning, zoning commission, steering committee, that will really drive this whole process. And then having a civic engagement team, so that's what I talked about in terms of making sure that we have that team. They're really being like, what are the barriers to engagement, right? If there's barriers, if it's from accessibility to location to technology, right? We want to minimize where we, as much as we can for engagement, and then of course ultimately city staff and us as consultants. So why work with us? As I said, we're strategists, we're planners, we're visual designers, architects. We understand community and economic development, and we just want to find ways to make projects go. That's what drives me. That's what drives our team. And like I said, we want to engage in meaningful stakeholder engagement. So with that, thank you for the opportunity. I hope I didn't go over my time. Probably did, but I'll answer any questions.
Mr. Sidney, we appreciate your efforts. You have been excellent, you and your firm, to work with so far. And although we're not officially voting now, Alderman, if you'd like, now would be a great time to ask Mr. Sidney any questions that you might have. Yes, Chairman.
and I'm not sure how far back we go with that. I mean, I remember 1995, this strategic planning we did, and then we I think, Coop, you were on council then. And
I
then,
wasn't born.
and then, and then we revisited it, I can't remember, it's 5 years later or 10 years later.
Yeah,
And then it
2000.
kind of just sat, I don't know if we ever implemented anything out of that or much out of it.
Yeah, strategic plan was adopted around the 1994 time period. It wasn't much, and then in 2008. So between 2006 and then adoption in 2008 was the last comprehensive plan.
So that goes back to that. And,
Yeah.
I mean, there were committee upon committees and different stakeholder groups and things. So that's similar to what your community stakeholder group would comprise of.
Exactly. Yeah.
In all different aspects of the community.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. Vice Mayor.
I have a couple of questions. One of these I think is probably for you, Logan. Have we or will we share any prior plans that we really want to do but were put on the shelf? The first one that I can think of is the riverfront development.
Yeah.
So will those types of things be incorporated?
All of them.
Okay. My other question is this is just because I read stuff. How important is public-private partnerships in this in your development efforts?
Huge, yeah, very important. And what we have found is when the private sector, it's not that they are driving the process so much as they are engaged, that they are recognizing that as a community, as a city, you have a desire to see this vision go forward and what you want to specifically see in a certain area. So as the mall example is a great one where the village is not telling the mall what to do, but it's saying that if you actually go forward with this plan and this redevelopment, we will bring these types of tax incentives, we will bring this type of infrastructure realignment of roads. I mean, they're making some decisions right now. So that public-private partnership is very important, especially as these deals get more and more complex in terms of you got funding from different streams. And so, yeah, very important.
Okay. Thank you. Those are the only questions I had.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any other questions for Mr. Sidney?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, Mr. Cooper.
You're working on 2 projects now in town, right?
Yes.
How long you been in town working on these 2?
We started 2023.
It's been we've been working with David for about 2 years.
Okay, so you got a feel of the community. There's 3 options here. Why are we going with the lower one?
So we're gonna take this on as a phased approach. It's my strategy and my hope to take the bite off the big chunk first, and then let the comprehensive plan tell us what we need to do next. Will we probably need to do a zoning rewrite after the comprehensive plan? Probably, but we need to get this done first.
And if we get this contract with you guys, how long does this process last?
So we're planning to this first phase 15 months. So through end of December next year.
The 157 covers it all?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Sidney? Yes, Mr. Butler.
Yeah, right there. May I ask you what other plans that you're doing here in Danville? You say,
Yeah, so the site, the southeast corner of Fairchild and Vermilion, we were asked to put together a feasibility study to prepare for a developer. So finding a developer, but before finding a developer, what are the possible uses for that site and the financial feasibility around that. And then the other is Lynch Road corridor, 20-acre site out on Lynch Road. And again, the same, what are the possible land uses and development, and ultimately that a developer would say yes.
Yeah, so actually it's released on our website today. We are going out for a request for qualifications to developers based on the plan that David helped us to create on Vermilion and Fairchild. We're trying to time up the decontamination of the site with, once that occurs, we'll have a developer ready to go for that corner. And I truly believe we'll get some interest. if you're looking across to the adjacent corner, I think that's gonna help.
And we will, and as these are finalized, of course, they'll be presented to you all, and Logan will be presented those, and I know Mr. Sidney, if we need him, would be back as well.
Yeah, I can send the digital copies of those to the aldermen tomorrow, no problem.
Okay, very good. Yes, Vice Mayor.
I have one more question. So at Public Works last week, I brought up the timeline. And so I know that it says September 23rd to December 24th for project initiation and engagement. Since obviously this is nearly a month after September 23rd, are we still anticipating completing the engagement portion by December 20th?
So, good catch. So we'll be behind starting about 30 days, but we'll try to, because part of it is the timing around the weather too, and so it's like it was trying to balance how much analysis work can we do as the weather's getting cold, and then when is the right time after the first of the year to engage. But yeah, we're still gonna aim for that schedule.
Okay.
To that point, we're still wanting to target end of December, but in light of the start, if we push into January, we will give you a heads up.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. Yes, Alderman Williams.
What is the cost of this to the city?
It's around $157,000. This funding, I mentioned this at last week's meeting, this funding it was encumbered last fiscal year. You'll see that there is a budget amendment in the resolution tonight. It has been saved for this reason. But since we rolled over fiscal years, we have to roll those funds over to this fiscal year as well. So the funding was made available for this last year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sidney. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
And he'll still be here, of course, if we have any questions when we actually vote as well. Very good. At this time, we will receive petitions, communications, and audience comments. It's my understanding that a number of you are here to speak on the same subject, and I would ask, for the sake of time, that if someone has already stated the position that you agree with, that you would say, I agree with, for example, Mr. Knapp. And if you have anything new to add it, but if not, just to simply say, I concur with Mr. Knapp's assessment, or Mr. Donahue, or whoever it might be. Madam Clerk, at this time, we'll receive and we will keep to time as well.
Thank you, Mayor. Has everyone had a chance to complete a yellow card who wishes to speak this evening? Okay, when I call your name, please come to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. First, I have Douglas Seymour of Danville regarding the zoning petition, special use permit 267.
Yes, we're looking at putting they are looking at putting a tavern bar in our backyard, basically. They want to do it on Vermilion Street. We live on Oak Hill. Our backyard would butt up against this building. I'm afraid that when they do this, besides the traffic, and they're going to have a beer garden type situation for these people that smoke. You know, they're all going to have to come outside. I don't want these people in our backyard drinking and smoking. And I think there's plenty of other buildings in the city, or even in this area up north, where they could locate this bar, tavern that they're talking about. That's basically my objection to the whole idea. I don't think it's a bad idea. It's just a bad location. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Jane Adele of Danville regarding the zoning petition, special use permit 267.
So I'm in agreement with, because I live right around on 5 Sherrill Drive. So consequently, you know, we're a neighborhood, we're a community. I've been there 38 years. We have school buses that go down the street, and you can go back out on Sherrill, but you can't. Shady Lane is a no-go. You go in one way, you go back out. So, you know, it's not a great place. I'm all in favor of them 610. Wine Appetito is going to be for sale. It sits back in, and I've used their downstairs for an event before, and there's an elevator. There's already a bar there. So.
Thank you, Mrs. Adele.
Bill Donahue of Danville regarding the zoning item 8A.
Thank you. First of all, I spoke at the zoning petition hearing, and I really want to respect and appreciate the investors for what they're doing, but I also would agree that the location is bad because it is unique. And I know you can't see this. I submitted some pictures to the city clerk, but this little white thing here, that's the edge of the building. Right next to it, although you can't see it, I know, is a house. So if anybody remembers the old rec store, that's where it is. And this is unique. The neighborhood is right there. And that's the most unique thing. I think that's what Pico responded to when he was talking about the petition. This is the one location where the neighborhood's right there. And so, a number of the people spoke about it and felt like it wasn't appropriate. Your special use permit ordinance has criteria to go by, and I look at those, and I think the what's called the LaSalle Sinclair factors are enumerated here, and as you read through them, I think probably they sustain the zoning board's decision. I don't think a denial of the petition would be unreasonable or arbitrary. And just to give you a flavor, because I don't want to read your ordinance, and you have an attorney and Mr. Kronk to do all those things for you, but it's not really compatible with existing uses. It's not essential. It will preserve the essential character of this neighborhood. It will, I think, adversely impact the living conditions. It will adversely affect the adjacent properties and have additional traffic and other problems that will go along with it. So very quickly, I think it's a unique situation. I respect everybody who's trying to do the right thing, but this is a unique thing for the residents. So I would ask that the zoning board decision be sustained.
Thank you, Mr. Donahue.
Lisa Beath of Danville regarding the work week.
Hello, Lisa B., 3 Crystal Drive. I just knew you were going to call me first tonight. But the last time that the work week, the 4-day work week was on the agenda, I was a department head and didn't feel like I had really the freedom to talk with everyone about how I felt and others felt as well. So now that I am just John Q. Public, I can, talk a little bit about how I feel about this. And, there was some irony when I read the ordinance because it said, the second whereas said to provide better customer service for the community, and yet we're going to be taking away from the community. We're taking a day away from them. And, I know we're adding an hour and a half to the other 4 days, but it's sometimes Friday is the day you get paid. It's the only day you have to conduct your business. And, I don't think that is helping the community. I think that that's taking away from the community. I think that it was kind of thought that maybe this would help with employee retention, but just earlier this year we supposedly helped with employee retention by giving out raises, and some of those raises were substantial, and yet several of the people that got these substantial raises are gone already. So we can't just keep chasing things to try and keep our employees, because when you're hired, they tell you what your hours are, they tell you what your pay rate is, and you have the option to say no, I don't want the job. Some people plan their children's activities and childcare around what they were originally scheduled to work. So, that could be a place where you might lose people as well. But the place I want to talk about now is Danville Mass Transit, and forgive me if I say our or my or whatever, I can't get past that. But our department would be heavily impacted because finance is the back end of everything that we do in terms of providing to our funders. So everything starts here. Well, not everything starts here, but we get the ball rolling here, and then we take over and send it off to the state or to FTA. So sometimes time is of the essence, and if we don't have people in place for 3 days, 3 of the 7 days, that's almost half a work week, half a week. Did that go off already?
Thank you, Director V.
Okay, all right. I'll email you all if you'd like. I didn't think I'd go 3 minutes, I really didn't, I'm sorry. All right, thank you.
Cindy Waters of Danville. She's against the zoning on Vermillion regarding item 8.8.
First off, I agree with everything that's been said so far. They covered a lot of the stuff I was gonna say. But I wanted to touch on the parking situation there. I went to the area and there's about 35 spaces to park. There's no place to add extra parking. There's only 35 spots. So my question would be, where's the overflow parking gonna go? And you also have to consider employee and handicap parking. We all bought our homes because this is a quiet neighborhood and we'd like to keep it that way. And I also, at the last meeting, they were talking about comparing this spot to Turtle Run. I'm really not seeing how you could compare the two. The original Turtle Run building was the Elks Club, and it was built over 50 years ago. There's a huge golf course that separates them from the residents, and there's also, and I'm sorry, I lost my spot. And then the nursing home that's across the street, that was all built after the fact. So, and it's also, they serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. This is gonna be a bar with no food. So it's a club and an event center. It's not a bar. So I ask you to please proceed with your plans, but maybe use one of the other vacant buildings in the city.
Thank you, Mrs. Waters.
Thank you.
Alvarez Dixon of Danville regarding the proposed Blue Store upscale tavern and video slot.
Good evening, everyone. So as was said, I'm Alvarez Dixon. I'm also the founder of the Jump Off, so if you're familiar with that. So if you know that and you know me, then you know I care about families. I concur with the comments that were made before. What I would add to that is, given my priority for families, I would add to that a concern for safety. And the reason there's a concern for safety, as was mentioned before, is how the close proximity that this proposed location is to residents and to homes. My home is on Suncrest, so I'm directly behind this, would be affected by this. I'm concerned because there are families that live in this area. That includes children, that includes seniors, and the clientele that the proposed facility would have would, in my opinion, pose a risk to safety during the hours that it would be expected to be in operation. The second concern that I have, and I think it might have been mentioned or alluded to, is the way it impacts property value in that area. I own my home, and don't have any intention of moving from there anytime soon. However, property value is important to me. And given the proximity of this particular proposed location to our properties, I don't see how it wouldn't have an impact, and I don't see how that impact would be anything other than negative, considering again the nature of the facility that's being proposed. I also agree that there are in this city no shortage of available properties that are not adjacent to residential areas that would be better suited to this type of a facility. So with that.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the council this evening? All right, seeing none, you have before you item 8A, a zoning petition, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance for petitioner CHD Property Developer Group, LLC, special use permit number 267 for property 3234 North Vermillion Street to allow for an upscale tavern. Is there a motion to approve the call again? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion
Seeing
to
that
approve. I'll
So-
make a motion to approve.
there is a motion, is there a second? Once,
I'll second just so we can say our piece.
seconded by Alderman Poor. Yes, now it's open for discussion or debate. Chairman Poor.
I too think this is not a good location for this. I also think that we do not need to keep expanding our video gaming and bars up to this area. That's the main purpose of this is to get a video gaming license. That's how they'll draw in their clientele and make their money. And we've already seen 3 or 4 others pop up, Debbie's and different things that we thought had been nixed a year ago or something, and now there's a second Debbie's, there's others going in. I just don't think we need to expand that. But listening to the residents' concern, I mean, Jane called me or texted me a couple weeks ago before zoning to want to know who her alderman was, but so she could talk. But yeah, I mean, this, I don't know why Rex was ever allowed to go in there back when it did, but development up there, but it's definitely a residential area, and there's no need to have anything like that there. Thank you.
Chairman. Alderman Cooper.
Well, I just got one question. Exactly what is this you're wanting to put in there?
Mr. Mudd, if you'd like to come forward and identify yourself and.
And my name is Andrew Mudd. I actually represent C&D or CHD Development, but Mr. Jesse Singh and Mr. Jag Singh, residents of Danville, family here, kids go to school here. The current building is the old gymnastics building. It's approximately 10,000 and change square feet. The proposed supplemental use permit is consistent with the current zoning and would fit in there, but we need a special use permit, obviously, for the sale of alcohol under your zoning. Now that 10,000 square feet, the tavern that's supposed to be there, and I was made aware, is that there are no gaming licenses available currently for bars. So the tavern actually would only occupy the front 1,500 square feet in the southeast corner. What that really means is there'll be about 75 feet of building between the proposed bar and the end of the building. Sound would not be a factor. What this would allow for is to suite off that into multiple sections for further development. Obviously, we're not looking to place a 1,500 square foot bar in a 10,000 square foot building. We are compliant with parking regulations for floor space for 1,500 square feet. And the limit to the neighbors, while I appreciate their concerns, mainly are hypothetical. What you do have is 2 businessmen who have consistently poured their own money into properties in this town and into Westville most recently, putting out, I would say, a very high-level product. You have approximately 40% of your population north of Conran, and you have no single tavern in which children are not allowed. There's not TVs blaring games, or it's not a restaurant. You can't go out to dinner or take your, excuse me, not to dinner, but you can't go out on a date, have a drink without children running around. You have Applebee's, you have La Potacina, which is right there, and you have, I mean, I guess the drive-through of, if we're gonna go off of actual dangers, the drive-through of Popeyes, I think, was robbed at gunpoint 3 times in the first 6 months. So you have 2 gentlemen who have, again, are willing to take another vacant building off of your hands, invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in it, create more tax base for you. And the added benefit of the Blue Store on North Vermilion, I believe Chief Yates had expressed some concerns about when they were opening with foot traffic with Danville High School. And what did they do? They voluntarily moved their hours back to 9:30 so we didn't have to worry about shoplifting, tobacco sales, or alcohol. These guys, like I said, have their families here. They live in my same neighborhood, raise your kids here. All we want to do is provide another entertainment option for an underserved population, which is the north side of Danville.
So originally it was a gaming lounge. Now it's not a gaming lounge.
Well, no, it's always been applied for as a tavern.
With a rider for gaming.
But there are no riders available currently. So it's for a tavern, yes.
You need 2/3 council approval, right?
Yes.
We would need, just to clarify, if you vote yes, you will be voting in favor of the petition to allow the bar to go here. If you vote no, you will be voting against allowing the bar to go here. You will need 10 yes votes in order to pass this and overturn the recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
And just one final thing I can say to you is that this spot could be a gas station, and we wouldn't have to come for a special use permit. Could actually put a whole bunch of different things in there and not ask permission to do so. So I would ask that consideration be given to responsible owners who, again, are willing to put their money, time, where their mouth is and actually help to improve the city.
So I guess, Logan, this is zoned for B3 apparently up there.
B2, highway commercial.
Okay. No, personally, I don't have a problem with it, but 9 times out of 10, I vote with the neighbors, and I understand what the neighbors are saying. I don't know if I'd want it if I lived right behind them either, Andrew.
There is no obviously intention of putting a beer garden or anything. In
Well,
the
I
back of
understand that.
just to dispel any,
I
obviously
understand that.
concerns of the residents. So.
But I'm probably going to agree with what the neighbors want. I applaud the guys for applying for it, but I've got to go with the neighbors.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Teague.
I have a couple of questions. So, tell me the dimensions of the area again. That would be the tavern.
The tavern. So the way the building is kind of a triangular shaped building. It would be the proposed specs that we've kind of been tossing around is 26 or 27 feet by 50 feet long in the lower southeast corner, so the furthest away from the neighborhood as possible. Given that I believe the length of the southern border of the building is 125, 127 feet long, it would only occupy the front 50 feet of that building, leaving 75 feet behind it for either further development, storage, or anything else like that.
So one of the concerns that I had, and I think one of the citizens also brought this up, is parking. Because one of the things that happens when you do have a tavern or a bar or whatever is that you have a volume of parking, and this particular location does not have very much parking available. And then when you add to that there might be additional further development of the other 7,500 square feet, then that leaves even less parking available, and then you also have to factor in the employees and whatnot. So that's one of my major concerns. So that part is new to me. Is there plan for packaged liquor sales there or no?
Not at this time. The only application that's before you is for the tavern.
Okay. The other concern that I have is just traffic in general. I know that when I leave this meeting and drive up Vermilion, before I hang a right on Fairchild to go back to my neighborhood, there's consistently a ton of traffic in front of the Blue Store on Vermilion Street. And that's not near, and in terms of volume of traffic, just street traffic is not nearly as voluminous as North Vermilion. So one of the other major concerns that I have is just the number of people who may be in front of the building, hanging outside in front of the building, because that's what happens at taverns, especially when you have, usually when people drink, there's always some smokers, which means you're going to have people outside. And I don't care what tavern you drive by, there's always smokers outside. And I don't care what time of year it is, there's always smokers outside. So I think that is another concern that I have. And I think I would concur with the neighbors that it just doesn't seem like the best place for this type of business, and that there are other locations on North Vermilion that could still suit the needs of people north of us, whatever street in the city, to be able to go out on a date that would be better suited than this particular location in this highly trafficked area of North Vermilion.
If I could briefly address those questions.
Sure.
I believe one was the traffic. It's the busiest corridor that you guys have. I mean, I don't think you're going to see an influx of a 1,500 square foot bar. As for parking, I believe it's one space for 200 square feet. Under your zoning regulations, those are not set by us, so we'd be more than compliant. I hope it's as busy as you make it, because that means that it would be doing well and that the further development could be happening, and then further development of more parking spaces. That's all a great problem that I would hope that they would have, and I know that they can take on. The other buildings, other spaces, what you currently have is a vacant building, and as a business person, going out and just buying $100,000 empty buildings to come to get special use permits isn't really an option. They own what they own right now. To go out and say, go spend $250,000 somewhere else and put another $200,000 here is easier said than done. What you do have is somebody who's willing to do that with the current vacant space right now. So again, parking's compliant. The only access to that building is through Vermilion Street. There's no access to the neighboring subdivision behind it through anything. So
Yes, parking is compliant now, but it's also landlocked. There's not space to expand parking, and I've seen bars much smaller than this that have parking issues. If you drive by Dale's, which happens to be in my neighborhood, there are people parking in their parking lot and they're parking across the street. You don't have that availability on North Vermilion, and it becomes a major issue if you do happen to have somebody say, "Hey, come have drinks with me tonight at such and such place," and now all of a sudden you got 40 people. So to me, that is probably the biggest issue. And then when you factor that in, along with the concerns of all of the citizens who surround that particular building, who have been in that neighborhood for umpteen years, to me it just doesn't make sense for the city to do that. So, but I thank you for addressing my concern.
yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes.
As a tavern owner, you can buy isn't there an option to buy a rider you can,
if there is one
for
available.
carry out?
You're talking about a packaged liquor rider along with a supplemental video gaming rider?
Right.
Are you asking about the package or the video gaming
So
rider?
you can sell carry out at a bar, can't you, if you buy the rider?
Yes.
So, just get your
So it could be
Yeah.
it could be an issue in the future, is what you're saying.
Not
Again,
saying it will, but it's
Right.
available.
that hasn't been applied for. There isn't any
Well, I understand that.
to do that. So hypothetical.
Thank you, Mr. Mudd.
Thank you.
I will say, for all the reasons that you all have mentioned, I think Mr. Singh, I appreciate all the great business that you do in our community. You provide services and things that are not offered other places, and we appreciate that. We have people that fly here to buy certain items out of one of your stores, and I think you're very good business owners. We appreciate that. However, for all the reasons that are mentioned, although I'm not voting, I would not support this either at this time, primarily because of the parking and the neighbors. We have to stand with our neighbors. Chairman.
And I want to apologize for bringing up the video gaming. I was under the impression that there were riders, that we went to a rider situation for video gaming license, and that they were awaiting getting the liquor license to be able to apply for their video gaming. So I guess I was misinformed on that.
I got a question in regards to that, Lisa. So nobody can get a video gaming license in this town anymore, is that what you're saying?
Alderman Cooper, can you lower your microphone just a bit, please? Thank you.
So nobody can get a
I'm just saying, as of today, we don't have any video gaming riders available. Now, that could change tomorrow. There could be a business that closes tomorrow, and they contact us, and there'll be a video gaming rider available. And then, as I explained at the last meeting, and I also sent out an email, we have the video gaming halls. We have 10 video gaming halls, and at the current time, we have 9 that are licensed. 1 is pending at the Illinois Gaming Board, and we have 22 video gaming riders. All of those we've issued, and we have 1 truck stop. So at the last meeting, I didn't take into account the truck stop. So we are at 32 currently, but we have no video gaming riders. 32 total establishments with video gaming terminals. Our cap is 33 total, which
Well, good
includes
thing
the
about-
truck stop.
Good thing about that is we're not going to have any of these pop-up Debbies or any of these popping up around town then, are we? With that in place.
There's
Correct.
one,
Well, we have the 10. Yeah, the 10 have all been issued, so we don't have any more video gaming halls available.
as a reminder, oh, Chairman, go ahead.
And this all happened when we switched from having a bar have to get a separate video gaming license. We're just considering bars, halls?
No.
No? Okay, so do bars still have to have a liquor license, and then they have to get a rider too?
Yes, the supplemental.
Whereas before they didn't, it was just
It was a separate license. Correct.
Now they don't need to get a license, they get a rider?
Correct.
But all of those are,
All those considered licenses?
And they still apply for the liquor license first, so they can go to the state for a state liquor license, and then go to the Illinois Gaming Board.
And then but we still issue a rider that's
Yes.
what used to be our city license for video gaming.
Yes.
Okay.
Any further discussion or debate? As a reminder, a yes vote will be in support of this location, and a no vote would be against the location. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Wands?
No.
Bouchard?
No.
O'Kane?
No.
Iverson?
No.
Poor?
No.
Streebing?
No.
Pickering?
No.
Ludwig?
No.
Teague?
No.
Williams?
No.
York?
No.
Cooper?
No.
Butler?
No.
Wilson? 0 no. 0 yes, I'm sorry.
13 no, the motion fails. At this time, you have before you the payrolls of October 4th and 11th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve those?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Bouchard?
Yes.
O'Kane?
Yes.
Iverson?
Yes.
Poor?
Yes.
Streebing?
Yes.
Pickering?
Yes.
Ludwig?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
York?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Wilson? Wands?
Yes.
13 yes.
13 yes, the motion carries. You also have before you the vouchers payable of October 8th and 15th, 2024, as well as a special run of October 7th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Roll call vote, please.
Alderman O'Kane?
Yes.
Iverson?
Yes.
Poor?
Yes.
Streebing?
Yes.
Pickering?
Yes.
Ludwig?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
York?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Wilson? Wands?
Yes.
Bouchard?
Yes.
13 yes.
13 yes, the motion carries. At this time, we will receive our Public Works Committee report. Chairman Poor.
Thank you, Mayor. 11A is a resolution amending the expenditure method for the DCEO Downtown Revitalization Grants. Move to dispense read and ask for your approval.
Second.
Oh, I do need a second, I'm sorry.
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
Just, Logan, explain this one. You got a $3 million grant, we're paying $280,000 for what?
So this is actually, this is for the downtown grant that's already happening right now. The way the grant budget was put in, and then the way that former city engineer Sam Cole set up contracts was different than what the grant application was. So this is basically a swapping money around so that the way we're spending money matches how we said we would in the grant. So just there's no increase to anything. It's literally paying from different spots for different things.
So the 280 is coming out of that 3 million, and it's really a wash.
Yeah,
Okay,
completely. Yep,
that's good.
Anything else? Anyone else? Vice Mayor.
Did we have to go through a modification with DCEO to do this, or was it already submitted in this way?
So we're doing this to match what the DCEO side of things.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderman Iverson? Oh, I'm sorry. I know he got up and left. Chairman Poor,
Yes.
Chairman Streebing.
Yes.
Alderman Pickering.
Yes.
Ludwig.
Yes.
T.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
York.
Yes.
Cooper.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Wilson. Wands.
Yes.
Pashard.
Yes.
O'Kane.
Yes.
12 yes.
12 yes, motion carries. 11B is an ordinance amending Chapter 39 Personnel Policies pertaining to hours of work. Move to dispense with reading, ask for your approval, need a second.
Second.
Okay, Mayor, you want to take it from here, or do you want to, any comments from the alderman?
I guess.
Alderman Cooper.
I'm not in favor of this. I want to keep it to 5 days. I just don't understand if the time during lunch hour is a major concern. Why can't we change the out or work something out where we can have the open where they can pay or whatever? And now I see where we might be able to have a drop box where they could drop off payments too.
Yes, sir. So, regarding switching lunch hours, we went through so in order to change hours, one of the things we have to do is change our CBA, the contractual agreement with our unions. When we were in the union negotiation with the clerical union last year, we explored every other option. We explored having people split shifts so that we always had the lunch open. We explored having people work Monday through Friday with a half day on Friday. We explored almost every other option we could possibly think of. And the only options that the union agreed to were to keep things as they are, or to have them, have them into the new option, which would be 7:30 to 5:30 Monday through Friday, with a closure from 12 to 12:30. One of the reasons that they would not agree to split was because of safety issues, where you have some issues where you have offices where you only have one or two people. If there's only one person and we're closed for a half hour, then folks still couldn't be served in that office. And if we have a place where there are only two, then you would have one person in there, oftentimes a woman by themselves. Unfortunately, prior to my time as mayor, we did have some incidents where there were problems, well before I was mayor, actually, and that's one of the reasons we got changed to the hours where we are, where everyone is closed during lunch, because many years ago they used to have a split shift as well. So these are our only two options as far as our union personnel go, and that's why those have been presented to you.
Well, I still think a city hall needs to be open 5 days a week to serve the people in town, and I've been on this council for a while, and I haven't had one person come up to me and complain about anything about it. So
I understand the sentiment. I would encourage you to come and sit in the parking lot from noon to 1 and see how many people you see waiting there trying to pay. The biggest concern that I've heard always is from working people, because they work the same hours that we work. So if you're a working person and you want to do business with City Hall, it makes it next to impossible to do so. With these additional options, they would have 30 additional minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at lunchtime that they don't have. So if they're only able to come during lunch, they could come during that time. And then also an additional hour every evening as well. So that's how we landed this committee. But I understand your point, and I understand that completely.
Alderman Cooper, anything else?
No.
Vice Mayor?
I have a few concerns. So one of the things that came up at Public Works was about the employee survey, and that it was, I believe, 2/3 and 1/3, 2/3 for changing the hours and a third against changing the hours. And if I remember the numbers correctly, there were of the 30 people surveyed, there were 15 people who were for it and 9 people who were against it and 6 who did not respond. In a yes or no situation, when you have no responses, it could imply that those 6 who did not respond were indifferent, because they may not have felt strongly enough to say yes. And in that case, it really wouldn't be 2/3 versus a third. It would be a 50-50 split, because you add those 6 to the 9 and you got 15. So even though there was, and I appreciate the data that was presented, I think that the 6 non-respondents is also a piece of data that needs to be taken into consideration, and that is really closer, it might actually be closer to 50-50 split for versus against. But the other thing, which is I think even more significant, is that we as leaders need to be striving for, or at least I would hope, that we would be striving for win-win scenarios and, you know, have situations in which we can both serve the employees and serve the public. And what my concern is about this is that it does not serve the public. It actually takes a day away from the public. And yes, it does serve the employees, and it helps us, it could potentially help us retain employees. But when we look at the data, and I appreciate our comptroller putting together all this detailed data that covers an entire year, one of the things that I noticed is that we have this time in this data set, more payments happen on Friday than any other day of the week. So we have an average of 40 payments every day, because I crunched some numbers when they came out this afternoon. So we have an average of 40 payments every day, and 24% of our payments happen on Friday, and 22.8% of our payments happen on Monday. And so if we took away Friday, then we take away that significant day for payments. And even though I get that we have a lot of people who are unable to make payments at lunch, we still would lose a significant number of those payments by taking away Friday. And I think that one of the things that came up, I think the last time we talked about this a year ago, and then even again at Public Works meeting last week, is that a number of us were hoping to see some sort of other win-win scenario, in which case, you know, we could have the drop box available, which I think came up last year. Something that has not come up but could be a possibility is to hire some interns or part-time staff to cover lunches so that we could be open during lunch and maybe have those people work on Fridays. But at the end of the day, I think Alderwoman Wan said it best last week, which was, we're here to serve the public. And when you have a situation in which you have to prioritize, the public should come first before any of us, because we are public servants. And so if we do something that is detrimental to the public but serves ourselves, then we really haven't done our good service. And so for that reason, I'm against this. But if there was some scenario that came up in which we could serve both the public, we can have a both and scenario as opposed to an either or scenario, then I might be in support of it. But I can't be in support of this as it is written, because our hands are tied, because we can only choose to take something away from the public in order to extend the hours.
Vice Mayor, a couple of notes on items that you said. So one of the issues you had mentioned is, you know, the other 6 missing people. The 6 inspectors did not vote in this because they thought they were not under consideration. I have since heard from them, and they were 4-2, I believe, in favor of the change. So then that would make it 19-11, I believe.
That would make it even more problematic, because if the 6 inspectors are not included, that means nobody is inspecting on Fridays. And the area of town in which we have the biggest concern is East End, which is what happens to be where I live and Alderwoman Pickering lives. And we have talked about total violations ad nauseum.
We are not proposing that at all. You just said that there were 6 votes that were missing, and I was simply explaining to you that the inspectors did not vote because they were not being considered in changing their hours, and we are still not considering changing their hours. But I just wanted to inform you as to where those 6 missing votes came from.
Okay, thank you.
I see. So we're not at all proposing changing the hours for the inspectors at this time. That's not part of the proposal. And as far as other options go, we did have our Joe Claypool, our facilities and grounds manager, did perform a test of the drop box, and it does work. They've done it multiple times. Deposits are made, and they go directly into the safe in the treasurer's office. I didn't realize this, but we actually already receive payments every month from multiple people. So it is something that is being used, but the drop box out front is able to be used, and it's able to be used safely.
Weren't there
and securely.
concerns brought up last year about water?
My understanding is that they were addressed. That's what Manager Claypool said.
Alderman Pickering.
Yes, the thing with serving the public, and Madam Clerk, if you could tell me, we also pay other bills besides our garbage bill in this building also, correct?
That's correct. In finance, they have the hotel motel tax, liquor tax, food and beverage tax, motor fuel tax, and diesel fuel tax. The legal division has fines, fees, and court costs. And in the city clerk's office, we have various temporary licenses and permits and annual business licenses, along with a filing for petition to vacate. If anyone comes in to file a petition to vacate, they do that in the
Okay.
city clerk's office.
Thank you. So that means we're serving more people there also than just the garbage bill. And as far as the drop box, that means that the lunch hours could be taken care of with the drop box too.
Except that the union contract runs through 2027, and they are not willing to change it.
The drop box. It would stay the same.
Right.
The hours would stay the same. So they could use the drop box during lunchtime when you said there was a lot of people that come up and, were angry because they couldn't get in. They
Right.
can use the drop box.
But if they wish to pay, if they wish to pay in person, though, they still would be unable to do so. And I think that that's one of what I hear from you all as one of the biggest concerns is taking away an opportunity for people to be able to do business in person. That's why I think it's also important for us to remember, I'll be honest, I'd completely forgotten about this, but our residents also can pay their bills at First Financial Bank. There are 3 locations throughout town, and there's no fee to do so. Here in Town Center, they can go Monday through Friday from 9 to 4. And then at 901 North Gilbert, and then all the way up north on 2750 North Gilbert, Monday through Friday. They're also open 9 to 4 where folks can go inside and pay. Or the drive-through is available Monday through Friday at both of those locations from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And then also on Saturday from 9 to noon. I remember, for example, Vice Mayor, you had said when you came down to pay for your rental property and such, you would come in early on a Friday. Well, the good news is that people would still have that option to be able to pay in person as well.
Pay anything or pay
Just the sewer.
just the sewer? Because when I came from my rental property, I had to go to legal. You can't go to legal and pay your rental property, correct?
That's correct, but you can pay it online now, whereas you could not before.
Well, and my thing is, yes, we can pay those at the bank, but these other things that Madam Clerk told us we cannot.
And we have
Correct.
far less traffic for those than
Right,
we do even
but yes,
for these things.
One other thing, in this, it says that the department head with prior approval of the mayor may choose to combine an employee 2 15-minute breaks with 1 hour lunch. So we could tweak that, and we could give them 15-minute breaks and a half an hour lunch, so we would still have a half an hour. They would just have a half an hour lunch instead of an hour.
Mrs. Pickering, I understand your point, and I respect it, and that's one of the things that I did propose. But the problem is that most of the employees performing these roles, these frontline roles, are union employees. So I do not have that option. I could change that. We could change that option for all of our other employees, but I could not change that for our union employees, and those are the ones who are processing, nearly all of the 137,000 payments that we receive every year. And I also just want to make sure that the public knows too that we did a little bit of analysis, and so our deputy comptroller, Kristen Landis, was the one who prepared this information for us. And what she gave you was all of the payments across the past year. And Vice Mayor Teague is correct. Yes, the most payments we received in person were on Friday. However, what I think is important to note is that out of the 137,000 payments that we receive every year, less than 4%, only 3.4% were received in person. Of those, out of the 137,100 payments that we receive every year, less than 2,500 were received on a Friday. So that's less than 2% of the payments were received are paid on a Friday. So that is a very small percentage. And when you're talking about cash, less than 1% of cash payments were made in cash on a Friday.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, when you look at all payments in total, but when you look at payments in person, 24% were made on Friday, and that is the most popular day of all days for which payments were made. And 10% of payments were made on the 10.7%, excuse me, were made on the 8th, which is also the day in which payments are due. And I actually had a question because I know when I was reading through this, it said that some payments were due on the 8th, but some are on the 20th. And my question was, why is that? And my assumption, just because I happened to look at my bills, are the ones on the 20th because they're businesses? Yes. That's what I thought, because I looked at my business bill. So I would imagine that the volume on the 20th would be low. The data actually supports that. I went to the second tab, which is, it's not printed, but it's payments by date.
You have a copy for you there. You should have, Vice Mayor.
Oh, this, yes. I went to the second tab, and then what I did was I sorted this by the quantity. So 10.7% of our payments were on the 8th, which is 1,096. 8.1% of our payments were on the 5th. 6.4% of our payments were on the 6th. Basically, the whole point is that people are paying around the due date. They're paying around the due date. I actually went through this, and then this, and then I actually made in my version, because I saved it for myself, I made a red highlight for every single time what day the 8th fell on for the entire year. Most of those did not happen on Fridays. So Friday is still the most voluminous day for payments, even though there weren't very many of those due dates on a Friday. And thank you for letting us know that then the due date adjusts, I believe, when it's on the weekend. Because at first I thought, oh, well, then I got to go back and look at, oh, people are trying to make it on before the 8th because the 8th fell on Sunday. Well, no, it actually adjusts. But even then, all of the data seems to still support that we should be open on Fridays. Because like I said, we have an average of just under 41 payments a day. And I'm glad that we have, I think is what you say, 98% of our payments are not happening in person. Because if they were, we would need a whole lot more people. We would not be able to handle the capacity. So I'm glad that we only have an average of 40 payments a day. But on the due date, you have in excess of 100 payments consistently on the 8th, which is 10% of the entire total of 10,195. So we still need to maintain that. There's other data that I looked at because I was curious as to why the 3rd and the 1st fall, but then I looked and said, oh, when does Social Security come out? Well, Social Security comes out on the 3rd and 1st. So all of the data seems to make sense, but at the end of the day, the data still seems to support that we should continue to stay open 5 days a week, and we should definitely keep Fridays open because we have over 1,000, I'm sorry, that's not the right number. We have 2,453 payments out of those 10,000 that happen on Fridays.
We have, no, not out of 10,000. We have 2,453 out of 137,000.
No, 10,195 is the number of in-person payments. When you add up these numbers at the bottom, 23, 25, 1981, 1852, 1584, and 2453 comes to, and it's on the bottom right, 10,195 total in-person payments.
Right, and I'm saying, but of the total payments, it's less than 2%.
But we're talking about in-person. We're not talking about total payments because, again, if we were talking about total payments and if we were encouraging people to come in and pay, we would not have the capacity to take all of those payments in person.
Well, another thing, in the year 24, we had 5 holidays on a Monday. So if we were not working on Friday, that means we would be off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We'd only have 3 days that we would be open.
For a possible handful of weeks a year, and every year it's not the same.
Right.
Alderman.
In Public Works, we talked about that only would affect City Hall people, but yet Lisa Beath was just talking about the mass transit people. So, and it doesn't specifically say just City Hall. So would we be opening it up to people who don't now have a 4-day but could? I know IT, I talked to him today and he's already got a plan, as you would expect. IT always has a plan. But are there other people affected that are gonna cause more trouble for the department heads?
No, this is for City Hall.
But
But
what does happen with the bus, with the
Well-
mass transit people?
They don't bring their money to, Comptroller, maybe you can, you might not know this because you've only been with us a short time, but do we receive deposits from DMT every day, or do they make their own deposits, or how does that work?
I believe we receive deposits from them most days, yes.
But not every day, though.
Not necessarily every day.
And they also have their own safe and such there.
Correct.
But I wasn't talking just their payments, I'm talking about the drivers, people who work there. Are they now gonna be 4 days a week? Are we gonna have to hire more
No.
people to cover the other
It
days?
doesn't cover any part of that.
This is a
mass
clerical
transit.
union only, right?
This is for City Hall.
City Hall clerical.
Although it doesn't say City Hall clerical. Anyway,
Well, it says it's City Hall only.
So any other business that people might have on a Friday, let's say, because I would remember this coming up previously as well, someone has a housing emergency or something like that that would normally go to Mrs. Finch for, if that happens on a Friday, or if we have a disaster or any of those types of things, then those people will no longer have access to those services as well.
Those individuals are on call just the same as they are. For example, Administrator Finch receives 4 weeks of vacation plus 12 ELT days, just like anyone else who's been here 30 plus years. And when she's gone, we still make sure that we meet the needs of those people. And people, just as in Public Works, folks are on call. So if we're an emergency situation, those items could still be addressed.
So currently, let's say I have a housing situation, my house, a tree, I don't want to speak that out loud. Some other situation, but not a tree falling on my house, happens, and it happened at midnight on Thursday. Now the process would be that I would call Mrs. Finch's office, correct? Possibly?
Not for a tree falling.
Well, I don't know what kind of emergencies. I was just making up something. So, but I would call Mrs. Finch's office. So when she's not here on vacation, I'm assuming that then her number rolls to another number, right? But if nobody's here, then what happens?
So in terms of emergencies, Administrator Finch doesn't handle emergencies most of the time. I mean, 99.9% of the time, her job is she thoroughly investigates all the complaints that we have in the community. So I mean, in terms of, there are very few physical emergencies that Administrator Finch would ever have to address. And if she, a lot of times what happens is if people, when she's on vacation, no, her number is actually not forwarded to anyone else. It goes to her voicemail, and when she comes back, she addresses those issues as they arise. It's not forwarded to my office or to Public Works or to the legal office. It does so. So if there is an emergency now in terms of the items that Administrator Finch handles while she's gone, it does not automatically roll over to someone else.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Then Vice Mayor brought up a point about hiring temps for lunch hour and things like that. Is that allowed under the union contract?
I got in trouble with the union twice for hanging things in my office. So, because it's considering taking work. So some of you all who have been on the council for a while, you may remember we had an issue where we used to stripe the streets, but as amazing as our Public Works team is, that's not something that they were very good at. And so we hired someone one year under the former administration to do so. And there was a big issue because we took work from the union. Now, thankfully, the union also realized that their services could be used better in other ways, and they came to an agreement, and that was changed. But Yes, you're absolutely right, Chairman. Like, we can't take work for, we can't take work. I'll give you another example. There was a while when we didn't have a city electrical or plumbing inspector. And so we were, to being sure that things were being done up to code, we contracted with a couple of individuals to help us out in the meantime. The union came to us and said, absolutely not. So we had to reiterate again and work double down on our efforts to hire someone. Now, thankfully, we've hired a couple of really good individuals in those roles. But if we hadn't been able to, kind of like where we're at right now, to having difficulty finding a city engineer, then we would be in trouble, because we cannot take work from the union, and that's understandable and respectable. Although I would like to be able to hang my own pictures, because I'm particular.
And one, I mean, I did receive some phone calls, but, you know, from some of the department heads involved. And I guess I never realized that some of our departments are on call and work most weekends when they have to do their work, because City Hall's open and running all the time, and certain tech and IT and things can't be done while people are here.
Our IT team, Alderman, Chairman, I don't know when they don't work.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, not having a Saturday or Sunday off, you know, more often than not, doesn't seem fair to those folks either. But, you know, I know this is something we want to deal with one way or another. The union wants to know, they negotiated their contract in good faith with this clause in it. And the option was, we stay the way we are, or we go to 4 days a week. So I guess that's kind of where we're at.
Chairman, I think the other challenge for me is we can't offer hybrid working situations like other entities can, because it's our job to serve the people. A lot of other places, folks are able to go out and get work where they can work at home a couple of days a week and they can work here. You know, so then on those days that they don't work at home, they're able to accomplish, when they're able to work at home, that's an option that we are not able to offer. You know, many other places have gone to 4-day work weeks. Some have even gone to three 12-hour days or 13-hour days. That's something that we could never offer. I don't think it would be fair or reasonable to offer, but I can tell you with a certainty, some of the main people that we have lost that were in critical roles in our community, one of the reasons why they left was because we didn't have those flexible work hours. And I've said to them, would it have made a difference to you if you had 4-day work weeks? And all three of them in professional positions are, you know, our city engineer, our former comptroller, and our former community relations administrator have all said yes, because it would have made a difference for their family. And like I said, I would encourage you to come during the day, during the lunch hour. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people cussing. Thankfully, nobody's really cussed at me directly, but because they come during lunch and they're not able to get any kind of help. It's an everyday thing. And I understand very much that there are strong feelings about this one way or the other, but I really do believe that this is the best way for us to both provide more service opportunities to the public and also provide us a way to help retain our employees. But I know there are strong feelings, Chairman, and I think we probably beat this to death, so I don't know if you...
Well, I mean, if there's no other comments, I'd like to call for question, do a roll call vote.
Yes, sir.
Roll call, please.
Chairman Poor,
Yes.
Chairman Strebe,
I'm torn. I come in here thinking one way and now, no.
Alderman Pickering,
No.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Teague,
No.
Williams,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Cooper,
No.
Butler,
Yes.
Wow.
Wilson, Wands,
No.
Bouchard,
I flip-flopped. I was actually for it earlier, but I am against it now. It's a no.
O'Kane,
No.
Iverson,
I was just the opposite way. I came in one way, and I think I've been convinced now, 7 days, people will get used to it. So yes.
6 yes.
How many no, Madam Clerk?
7.
The motion fails.
Okay. To be revisited again next year. All right, thank you. Moving on to 11C, a resolution approving a professional services agreement for the fire station facilities construction project. Move dispense reading, ask for your approval.
Second.
Questions?
This is probably gonna be a multi-million-dollar project. We thought about how we're gonna pay for this.
That's what, one of the reasons for hiring this consulting firm is to
I mean,
tell
the
us
city's
exactly.
gotta, city's gotta look at what we're planning on doing. I mean, I'm sure you've got an idea, don't you?
There are only two ways we can pay for it: to use existing funds we have, and that would more than exhaust our reserves, and I don't think that would be wise. The only other option is to bond the money or to borrow the money. Bonding would be the most reasonable for ROI, where we can best help make sure that we get the best ROI for our people, because you can get the lowest interest rates.
Do we have any current bonds out there now?
We have one bond.
For Harrison Park or?
No, that's been retired.
Okay.
Comptroller, do you?
We consolidated a bunch down there.
We consolidated them, and we're able to save almost $500,000 a couple of years ago. I don't recall how many years left we have though on that, Alderman. I want to say it goes until 2030.
29. It goes to 2029.
2029, and then those will be paid off. So we're still about 5 years out on those.
But those could be renegotiated too if we did do a bond to where we only had one bond payment, Comptroller.
We could probably negotiate to pay those off in the process, yes.
And look at other projects we need to have, bond, do the whole thing with the bond and.
Okay, the study is gonna consist of what? Is it tearing down 3 fire stations and putting 3 new up?
Yeah, I don't think we've completely decided. This primary part of the study is for us to try and get to a number of what it will cost to build the fire stations as we envision it, and to get that sort of like as a preliminary sort of budget idea and a preliminary schedule to you of what that would essentially look like as we went through this process. That's what we're hiring. We're hiring this company here today to help us sort of get to that place where we can show you as the council and everything what this would, and the people that need to pay for this, what that's going to look like.
And John, there's a whole bunch of different as you go through, but this is just for the project development services, for them to tell us, as Chief said, what do we need to do? What could it cost? And look at the different architects and contractors. Then we would move on into the other.
The other could be an issue, but that's fine.
Other? Okay, roll call, please.
Chairman Strebe?
Yes.
Alderman Pickering?
Yes.
Ludwig?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
York?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Wilson? Wands?
Yes.
Bouchard?
Yes.
O'Kane?
Yes.
Iverson?
Yes.
Hoare?
Yes.
13 yes.
13 yes, thank you. If there's no objection, I'd like to take 11D, E, and F together. They all deal with equipment. D is a resolution approving the purchase of a budget amendment, or a budget amendment for a 2025 forestry truck. E is a resolution approving the purchase of a heavy-duty service body pickup truck. And F is a resolution amending the purchase order to Kaufman's Truck Service and Towing for transmission repair on a 2008 International Workstar. Move dispense of reading on 11D through F. I need a second, please.
Second.
Okay, questions?
Just one.
Right.
Are we done buying trucks for your department?
No.
I mean, is this part of a 5-year plan or something? I wasn't
not a
here.
5-year plan. It's an ongoing. I mean, so the city fleet for public works alone is over 100 pieces of equipment, and so we've got, I don't know, we have an entire plan laid out, but that's all per the capital improvement plans that we put together.
And those
So-
are those are 3 years at a time, and they're updated every year. That'll come to you as part of the budget.
But the last 4 months, I bet you we bought 10 trucks, haven't we? Or
Yeah, so the capital improvement plan came out, and basically we've just been trying to buy everything that's on that capital improvement plan that's already budgeted in this year, real quick. The only thing that's not in the capital improvement plan is the tree truck purchase. Those funds are coming from the relief funds from the storm from last year, last June, if you recall. Was that 2 years ago?
No, it was
Might have
last
been 2
year.
years ago.
Last year.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while.
2 summers ago, but
Yeah.
last year, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, we got relief funds from that. Our tree truck is currently down. We don't have an operational one at all. So basically, it's not even worth the amount that it's going to take to fix it. So that's why we're trying to do that as a kind of an emergency purchase. So that's the one thing that's outside of the capital improvement plan. But when that truck would have come up for replacement in our capital improvement plan, we won't have to do that.
And that one, that's the truck we spent 200,000 plus on already in repairs since we bought it.
on the tree truck.
On the tree truck.
Yeah, but that's coming out of FEMA funds, right? So really,
yes,
it's
correct.
not
Yeah.
coming out.
So
But
it won't hurt us on that one, but,
Right.
I mean, just that piece of equipment has been it wasn't a very good piece. when we
No,
bought it,
no, that
and
one
it's-
hasn't
let's
been
say
that
have to put
reliable.
$200,000 in it to repair it.
No, I was just curious because it seems like every other month we're buying 2 or 3 trucks, and I mean it's for
The
the
fire
department. And
we don't get the fire department's trucks, they get their own.
hey,
Public Services
Easy,
does that.
easy.
Any other questions on D, E, or F? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Pickering,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Cooper,
yes,
Butler,
Yes.
Wilson, Wands.
Yes.
Bouchard,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Iverson.
Yes.
Hoare,
Yes.
Streeving,
yes.
13 yes.
13 yes, thank you. 11G is a resolution amending the resolution 2022-76 and a budget amendment related to the professional services for the demolition of Breezy Towers and Vermillion Courthouse Annex. Move dispense reading and ask for your approval. Need a second.
Second.
Questions? Been a long time coming.
When will it go out for proposal? Or when do you hope?
It already is.
It is.
Actually, the pre-bid meeting, the mandatory pre-bid meeting for any interested contractors is tomorrow.
With a start date of hopefully when?
Hopefully, let's see. I don't have that memorized off the top of my head, but the bids are due back, I think, within a month.
The day after
So,
election day.
Yeah, there we go. Yep, you're right. November 6th.
And the goal will have it all down is
That he's got it written in the contract for 6 to 7 months, I think.
355 days.
However, once we get proposals back, that'll give us a better idea. This is a little bit different than just a lump sum bid. It'll be a lump sum bid in conjunction with a safety action plan and then their proposal of how they're planning on doing it. There's a lot of different ways that contractors can choose to take the building down. And so I think there's a varying amount of time that it might take, safety precautions that might need to be taken for a faster method. There may be more safety precautions that need to be taken than a slower method might be. So we'll have to weigh everything out basically together when those proposals come back, and then that'll be how we decide what we do.
No imploding, though.
Is it proposal for annex, Breezy, and this building?
No.
No,
No.
Just annex.
the annex and Brizzy, yeah.
Yeah.
And so is this the amount that the city has to pay, or is that our portion?
This is this is actually just for the engineering firm to help put all the drawings together, help us bid it out, and then they're also going to be helping us run the project as like the owner rep on site with as with as different as of a project as this is, we don't have staff that falls in line with their current skill sets. So this is a little bit special of a project. So we elected to have somebody that knows a little bit more about how this should happen and safety precautions and whatnot to be on site for it.
And I just also add that, without having a city engineer, our engineering team and everyone in Public Works is working way beyond capacity. So we just don't have the physical capacity to oversee it fully either.
Other questions? Okay, roll call please on G.
Alderman Ludwig?
Yes.
T?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
York?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Wilson? Wands?
Yes.
Bouchard?
No, or yes, I'm sorry.
O'Kane?
Yes.
Iverson?
Yes.
Hoare?
Yes.
Streebing?
Yes.
Pickering?
Yes.
13 yes.
13 yes, thank you. 11H is a resolution accepting proposal for the comprehensive plan update and amending the fiscal year 24-25 budget. Move to dispense reading and ask for your approval and do need a second.
Second.
This was the presentation we received earlier. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Teague?
Yes.
Alderman Williams?
Yes.
York?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Wilson? Wands?
Yes.
Bouchard?
Yes.
O'Kane?
Yes.
Iverson?
Yes.
Hoare?
Yes.
Streebing?
Yes.
Pickering?
Yes.
Ludwig?
Yes.
13 yes.
13 yes, thank you. Public Works, any items?
Nope, not right now.
Logan?
Just really quickly, I actually received an email yesterday formally notifying the city of Danville that we have passed our first IDA rehabilitation test. That was $700,000+ that we had to go through and encumber, and they are going to be releasing the added 25% of funds. We'll have to spend that by next September, and then after we spend that, we'll have to spend the remainder of the $1.4 million. So we made it.
You said you couldn't do it.
Yeah, it was close. No.
You had help.
No, yeah, I think IDA does consider us as overachievers in the program, believe it or not. Yeah.
Chairman, I'll just add that we were only one of a handful in the state that actually met the deadline. And as a result, we are being considered,
Yeah.
we are being considered for additional funding. So we may be able to help even more homeowners, which is incredible. I just want to give a shout out to Logan, Mumachu, Christina, and everyone in Tess, everyone in Public Works that has worked so hard to make this happen. I mean, anytime we can help our citizens improve their lives, especially by improving where they live, it's incredible. And because our staff has worked so hard to meet these goals and objectives, and because we've been a leader, IDA has recognized that, and hopefully that'll mean more money, because we get a couple $100,000 more and we can help at least 4 or 5 more families do a lot of things to their homes. So it's something I'm very proud of, and I appreciate all of your efforts.
Vice Mayor T.
How many have we helped so far?
I believe that we've made it through a little over 15 houses. They have been coming in very, very, very highly priced, and we are at a cap of $60,000 per property. I kid you not, we have received at least 5 or more houses that the bids came back at $60,000. So no wiggle room at all.
Yep. They know that's the cap. Yes, Alderman York.
Yeah, is there a way that we can kind of do a media release of this with a positive spin? Because I've seen so much misinformation
I know.
and negative stuff and ignorance. I think it's important that we, at least put out there accurate information for people to understand, what has gone on surrounding these funds.
Yeah, I'll work with Rihanna. We have to be pretty careful on how we release and what we release for a program like this.
Absolutely, absolutely. I understand that,
yeah,
but I think there's just
it's-
a lot of ignorance and people talking when they don't have a clue what's going on.
I would agree with that, and I think the important thing that we will highlight is it was a very competitive application process, and we have a waiting list. If we do receive more money, there will be no more applications. We will continue to work off that waiting list, and that is not designed by the city. That is designed by the state of Illinois.
Yeah, and I think that's good for you to clarify that. Yeah.
Yeah, will do.
No, and I applaud you for your work. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Public Works. Mayor, that concludes our report.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't know about you. I want to make sure that I can enjoy Mr. All's presentation. He has some, would it be appropriate? I would, at this time, I would entertain a motion to go into recess for 5 minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I was gonna say,
All those, Madam Clerk, do we have to do roll call or?
Well, I didn't think we did, but I did look that up and we should.
Okay, I
I'm sorry.
apologize. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Williams,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Wilson, Wands, Bouchard,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Hoare,
yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Teague, yes, 13 yes.
I've already been.
13 yes, the motion carries. We are in recess. Please return promptly.
You allowed that vote?
Okay, thank you.
The audience got
Oh,
to
man.
Yes. I think they left. Yeah.
I tell you what, I'm still hurt now.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So double when I saw that, it looks like I mean, I explore every option. My bottom line is I just want to make sure that
Mine are super long, like, forgive me, mine are like twice as long.
You go to normal
Maybe I'll catch you after you
go. When do you want?
Like, doing good of job's not always glorious, but it's like so
At
much
JV
required.
Monday, normal. Danville, but that. How about we just?
I was like, that was fantastic quote, so.
I'm going tomorrow's Wednesday. Me and
Well, let us know.
I could run upstairs and get you one.
Well, I tell you.
Gosh darn it.
I don't really need a mouse.
Oh, you gotta be kidding, man.
Your
Huh?
headshot.
Yeah.
Oh,
Line up out there, man. I can't even get in the parking lot.
you could if you want to. Well, let us know what works.
Why?
Yeah, well, let us
Is this the
know, and they
presentation?
always,
Yeah.
return it and be like,
Still Logan.
oh, so they'll like take bits and pieces and like for it, so you're gonna write up about it afterwards. Yep, yep, so you'll be able to prove it.
Why is there no signal?
Illinois gonna win.
Yeah, I don't think.
I don't think.
I won't watch. I got ball game Saturday afternoon.
So if you take it on a second camera, it'll be fine.
I got Schlarm on Saturday.
That should be enough time. I did. Yeah, and I think if we just added like, hey, this is a better picture, like it's full type. I don't think so. We could do that. It's wonderful. They are wonderful. So. When I send them that email that's like, hey, you should include something about how like the job's not glamorous or like front facing.
Oh, so that's enough for multiple
I can include that. Be like, oh, I don't want my baby seeing this looking cheeky in a good photo she likes. So.
Well, and I almost said
Cody.
something about,
Why is this not detecting the other display?
I wish people could understand the need.
Might have been fully seated.
Oh, there goes. It just, it wasn't finished. How are they doing the presentation if it's not received?
And nothing had changed. I don't know.
They must have used the other guy.
You know what? That would be a really good moment with the mayor.
Unless when he put his USB in, it somehow got.
A good moment with the mayor.
I don't know. I've seen too much weird
Right,
stuff today.
the different permits.
All right.
You can also talk
I'm like Trish, I drank a lot of water.
right. Like,
Mine's hanging up.
This thing was all messed up.
Plus I got the sweater.
It takes an IT guy to
Well,
fix
the
it.
HDMI, the HDMI cord might be going bad.
Those are good calls,
I know, and I have, all my plants are out. I have my indoor plants are on
Well,
the
at
patio,
least
so I
keep-
think they'll be okay.
Should be all right.
I haven't even started to clean them yet.
Yeah, them outdoors are gonna.
Yeah. I got mums.
Oh,
So
really?
outside, so I hope, we'll see how they weather. It's hanging up, but I'm okay. My hands are cold.
I can give you some like front end load. So I'm like, no, I don't.
He knows I'm good for the day.
Done with the board, aren't we?
You ever get your second one?
That's what we say. What? Slate's founded, that guy's.
That's the next Moments with the Mayor. It's gonna be how to pronounce my name. Right there.
I just want to make a little bit of money. This guy is like completely spoiled.
He buys all the things. He's all the harmony. There's 5 people every day. Every day for a long time. And I'm like, nope.
Completely quit. Lloyd's thing, was there a lot of people went to Lloyd's thing?
Sometimes they come.
I was feeding fish this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Alyssa's been here.
Okay. My brother-in-law in Danville, Missouri.
Back in,
has
I
a
get my
small
truck,
lake.
get my fob out, and then it'd show green, and I'd pull on it, and it was red.
Yeah, and they all come up feed it.
I just
And,
missed a guy.
He stopped it about 5 years ago.
So you had to come all the way
when they
around the
first
front,
did it.
or would you at the
Now
front?
they're
At the front.
Oh, it was like.
and he's got large mountain bass.
I'll be darned.
I don't usually use my fob, but I can get back in, I got my fob.
My fob doesn't work. Well, it doesn't on the back door. I haven't tried it on this front
You know,
door.
mine would look green, and I get ready to grab it and be red. I've got a key, but
Neighbor had a pond up there, and he never would let nobody. Right against him, here, here's the road.
So medication has been
Yeah. Yeah.
I was before they took the medication.
well, I didn't take my water pill till late, so I was good. Oh, yeah.
First 2 hours.
At this time, I would entertain a motion to return to open session.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. On this one, we just have to have a voice vote though, right? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right, thank you. At this time, we will receive our Public Services Committee report. Chairman Strebe.
Item information, we will meet here next Tuesday, October 22nd at 6 p.m. Anybody else on the committee have anything for items of information at this time?
We have our presentation.
All right, then we have our presentation from the GIS Central Hub report, Adam Law, our GIS coordinator. Adam?
Thank you, Mayor, Chairman. Good evening, Alderman. GIS department has been working really hard on what I call GIS Central. And it's really exciting, at least to me. What I've been putting together is a one-stop shop location for all of your GIS needs, whether they're data or they're applications or they're just information about the department itself. And this went live Friday. This week, we're going to actually link it to the city website. So you'll be able to get this right from cityofdanville.org, get to GIS Central, get all your apps in one place. So starting off with GIS Central, we've got a really nice little welcome. Rihanna actually helped me get some of the language for this. You know, thank you for visiting Danville, Illinois' GIS Central. You know, really kind of bringing it down. You know, this technology is so huge. We want to bring it down and make it accessible to not only the employees and the staff and the aldermen, but we want to make it accessible to the public as well, because the public, the consultants, they're all using all this data all the time. So we talk a little bit about who we are and all this. We come down, we talk about that special recognition that Danville had. 2014, 2019, I won 2 of the nation's biggest GIS awards in 5 years. Most agencies don't even get 1 their entire careers. We have 2. I want to point that out. And then we go to Spotlight on GIS, right? What is Spotlight GIS? Spotlight GIS is an area where we pick out 1 application every so often, and we highlight it to show the public what we're doing and maybe put on display an application that they don't know that's available and what they can actually do with it, like this City Wards application. Okay, it's fully live, it's embedded in the website, right? And we can find out who the aldermen are for each of the wards. Really interesting, really awesome application here. Okay. And then we've got a section for our popular applications, the ones that are hit most frequently, okay? And these can change as, you know, as time passes, but we want quick links to those. Explore our data. We have a lot of requests from developers, from engineering firms, and one of the steps that we're taking here in the GIS department is to reduce the amount of work time that myself and my staff have in preparing data. So if we can reduce that time and have the people download their own data, that allows us to focus on more other tasks that are more pressing. And then of course, what is GIS? Well, if you don't know what it is, we give a little explanation of what it is, what you can do with it, the components that make this up. Thank you for visiting. And then I put the logo on here. You decide what's possible, right? You've got the data, you've got the applications. Now you have the information to make the decisions that need to be made about our community. That's the homepage for GIS Central, okay? We've got an applications page. The applications page is kind of like the gallery of applications, if you remember the gallery, okay? The gallery's still there, but this one has our apps broken out into categories. So if you're looking for administrative type apps, right? What does the government do? How can I interact with City Hall or Lincoln Historic District? You know, property and code enforcement. Business apps. What if I'm looking for zoning or an enterprise zone or a TIF district I want to develop in Danville? We have apps for that. Land apps, all right? Floodplains are in here. The residential property lookup and annexations. Recreation. This one is going to be a growing category. We've already got plans in the works for our parks. We're going to put a parks app on here. We're going to put a recreational sites type app on here. We're going to do historic monuments. All kinds of things going on in here so that we can really showcase what Danville's about. Service apps, fire protection. We just showcased this one to the chief the other day. This is an exciting app that the public can use. It finds the closest fire hydrant to your particular location. I mean, it's really, really kind of brilliant. And then transportation apps and utility apps, right? And all, of course, last time I was here, we talked about building apps on a platform called Experience Builder. We were building experiences, if you remember, and that's kind of what we're doing with this new hub and these new apps, right? So just real quick here, if I click on fire protection, okay, it gives you a little sidebar here about the app. You can close that down, but look, we've got the fire video streaming right in this application, okay? We can zoom in and we can see all kinds of fire information here on the left about how to use the application and information taken straight off the website, okay? Oh, let's go back here to GIS Central. And then we've got a Danville data tab. Gets us to all the data that we have publicly available for download. Now this will expand as we have more availability to the data. Currently there's 34 sets on here. You know, addresses, you know, bridge clearances, buildings, right? Other data sources, okay? So not only can you get data from Danville for Danville, but if you're looking for census data, if you're looking for IDOT data, if you're looking for USGS data, all about Danville, you can hit this and get to those other sites, right? This is interesting. This is a neat little feature here that we put in. You have a suggestion for an app? We have a survey for that. You just have to click on what category you think your app, you know, would fit into. Give us a little description of what you'd like to see, and maybe we'll build the app, and maybe it'll end up on Spotlight GIS, right? And of course, what good GIS site, would it be without a disclaimer? Okay, you always got to put the legal jargon in there because you don't want people misusing your data and using it as truth. It's a representation of our community. It's not the truth about the community. Data is fluid. It's always changing. So this is GIS Central. I hope you all enjoy it and use it. It's always expanding and always developing. Thank you.
Adam, when's that going to be on the website, did you say?
I'm going to try to get on there tomorrow, if not sometime this week. Yep.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Adam. Yes.
The other data sources, do they pre-populate with Danville selected, or do you have to put in what you're looking for? Because I've been to some of those other data sources before, but and then I gotta then drill down.
Yeah, you will still have to drill down, of course, because we have no authority over their other those outside websites.
So it's really just a link to the other website.
Absolutely, but a lot of people, when they're using these, they have to search cross Google, and they don't know that the USGS, the USDA, and the atmospheric administration all have Danville data without going to the site directly.
Okay. Any other questions for Adam?
Appreciate it. It's exciting.
Yes,
All
thank
right.
you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
That
Thank you.
concludes our report, Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. Any items of information for the good of the cause? Yes, Vice Chairman.
Yes, we are having at the Elmwood Park, Saturday, October the 19th at 6 o'clock, we're having a weenie roast and a movie night. So you are all invited to come to that.
Where's that at?
At Elmwood Park.
Okay.
I also, thank you for that, Vice Chairman. I would also like to remind everyone that we have our fallen firefighter memorial and retiree breakfast at station number 3, our main station, at 8:30. But make sure you come early because we start right on time. You know, this is one of those important ceremonies, so make sure you come.
When is it again?
This Saturday. This Saturday at 8:30. Yeah, I would come, try to be there by 8:15, 8:20. We also have the Boo Bash at Friendly Town this Saturday. Chief, at 5:30?
It's going to be the 26th at 5 to 7.
I'm trying to make sure I don't miss everything, but yeah, sorry, Chief.
It's on the Danville Police Department Facebook page.
Okay.
He's having the Boo Bash that day, and we're having the trunk or treat. at 3 different places.
All I'm saying-
Danville High School, the American Legion, and the Gale Grotto, and we've got, I think, 10 individuals for each one, and we'll be passing out candy from 1 to 3. So we can leave there at 3 o'clock and be over there at 5.
Yeah, we'll send people to your locations if you do the favor back.
Well, I do know that if you go to all 3 locations, they're giving out certificates for the Reindeer Ranch passes as well as the Festival of Trees, so.
We're giving out free motorcycles, go-karts.
Are
and-
you?
No, I'm just
Okay.
joking. I'm just joking.
Okay. All right, that's on, Chief.
Oh, God.
Also remind everyone that because it'll happen before we meet again as a council, first Friday next month is our Harry Potter Fest. We have thousands of people downtown. It's a lot of fun that we hope to see you there. You'll be glad to know we do not have a need for closed session this evening. Having satisfied the agenda, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Have a great week, everyone.
I have invited